5 characters that I would never summon for. And after doing my list, I realized that they're all male. Unfortunately, that's the case. Let's get on with the list. And please be mindful, this is just my opinion. To start off with is one of the Fontanians, since we're still in Fontaine. It's Risley. Now, Risley, when he first came out, just his teaser in the 4.0 trailer, right away I was drawn to his design. The character looked different from other Genshin characters, so there was a bit of attraction there. Then afterwards, when I saw the trailer of his, I knew right away that he was going to be a close melee attacker, and that was the case when the character was released. And that is one of the reasons why I just don't really care for Risley, because of his normal attack AoE. It's just very, very small. It's great for bosses, but for mobs, it's just a hell. Unfortunately, he did not live up to his design, and being the fact that Cryo it was at the top of the list when the Genshin Impact was first released with Ganyu and Ayaka, but now Cryo having no reaction with Dendro, and also Freeze is taking a backseat, even though it's a very, very strong reaction where it just freezes the enemies, but it's just not as relevant as Hyper Bloom with Dendro, and unfortunately Risley is not up to the par anymore. Now the second one is going to be another Genshin Husbando, Hyper Carry Geo DPS Ito. Now Ito also, same as Risley, when his drip marketing released on Genshin's Twitter, he drew a lot of attention, including mine, because the character looked very, very strong, and just the physical appearance was just completely different from the other male figures in Genshin, like a hybrid of animal and human. And he looked tall, muscular, but when he got released, we all saw the biceps, and we were highly disappointed with that. And funny enough, Risley is so buff. Game model is just perfect, and it's kind of sad the fact that Ito was not given the same treatment. But Ito, he like I said before, he's a hyper carry DPS, and not only that, he is in a worst element, which is Geo with no reaction, so you can only rely on the mono Geo. Even though I don't mind Ito's gameplay, but being the fact that he's the only one that's doing damage, and not only that, he's a Geo character. And his support teams, unless you have the 4-star Goro. So for that, I do think that Ito is very limited when it comes to his team pairings. And Geo is just a butt of all the elemental jokes. Even though Navia I wouldn't say resuscitated Geo element, but it kind of drew a little bit of attention to Geo because she was putting crazy amount of damage at C0. But her relevancy, I don't know it's gonna stay long. And Ito, even though we do have Ito mains, but unfortunately for me, Ito, I would never ever summon for him because I just don't need a hyper carry Geo DPS on my team where he is limited to certain team, and that team is only Geo team. And so that's my second character that I would never summon for. Now the third character is a Sumeru character, and it's Sino. So Sino, I wouldn't say same as Ito, but there is a long duration of on-field time with his burst, and his support team revolves around his burst duration. So if you don't have Nahida or Baiju is like a tailor-made for him because he has a shield and also he heals. Nahida is fantastic because her elemental skill duration is long enough to pair with Sino's his burst duration. But even though this character has an amazing animation and his attack animation once he gets into that burst state, it's just not enough. And I do have Raiden, and she's C3, and she outputs more damage than Sino when I pair her with Nahida and also Baiju and another Hydro character like Xingqiu. She just outputs more damage if I go with that. And her burst duration is a lot shorter, which is only 7 seconds, than Sino's. And there's a huge difference between the two and she just provides a little bit more when it comes to the support side by being a ER battery. But yeah, unfortunately, Sino, even though he's a very cool character, a cool design with this crazy animation, I just don't think Sino is worth my Primo Gems. If you like him, great. But for me, I don't regret the fact that I skipped him, and I don't think I'll ever gonna pull for him. All right, so that's my third character. Now on to my fourth character, which is going to be, he's going to be coming out soon. It's going to be his probably like the 10th rerun, and I am joking, of course, but it's Xiao. Xiao usually comes around Lantern Rites. You know, that's when Xiao always comes out. And for me, I just don't care for Xiao's gameplay. When he gets into his burst state, where you go up and down, jump, plunge, jump, plunge, jump, plunge. And not only that, whenever he plunges, he pushes the enemies out of his burst circle. And that itself is very annoying. I don't know why they did that. I'm talking about Hoyoverse. It's like, it is so against his kid, because once they're out, then you have to go towards them and do it again. And not only that, you have to be mindful about the duration. And also, if you switch to a different character, there you go, his burst ends. And I just don't think, and not only that, his burst drains his HP, and you always need a healer. I just think he's just lacking a lot. And is he still relevant to this day? I don't think so. And even though there's you know, Xiao mains out there, and they're probably going to hate this, but I don't think Xiao's gameplay is impressive enough for me to summon for him, even though he's coming out in the 4.4. I just don't think Xiao is worth my Primo Gems, and I skipped him multiple times, and I'm going to continue to do so because I just don't need him on my team. All right, so the last but not least, well, kinda. And I think this is going to be very controversial in a sense, because it's a Hydro character. And like I said before, all 5 characters are male characters. I don't think Tartaglia is a character worth your Primo Gems, because now, I know he was in the Fontaine story arc, and it was a great addition. You know, I like the character, his backstory, just his involvement in all these regions. It's pretty crazy the fact that he's the only 5-star that's been so involved with the main characters' storyline. But his gameplay, it's very nice, but the duration, you have to understand Tartaglia's rotation, because if you stay too long in his melee stand, cooldown is just so high, and it's like you're kind of limited. But also, if you understand his rotation and not be on his melee stand for long, it's great. You know, he's amazing. He is one of the best Hydra applicator out there, including Xingqiu. And we all know Xingqiu is broken, but Tartaglia is just very, very hard to understand. And even when you understand it, it's just, you have to put a timer on his skill, and I just don't like that. There's a limitation there if you think about it. You know, he works well with the national team. He's kind of made for it. But for me, I just think that Tartaglia, even though he's a Hydro character, and we all know Hydro is the best element in Genshin Impact, we know this. But for me, his rotation, it's very limited. You have to understand it in order for you to enjoy this character. And we're not going to talk about constellations, because right now, all these characters that I'm talking about, they're all at C0. So if you go for his constellation, still, it doesn't really eliminate his limitation when it comes to his melee stand. And I love his melee stand, but the cooldown is just too atrocious. But yeah, those are my 5 characters that I'm going to avoid all times going forward. I've been avoiding them, and I'm going to continue to do so in the future, because I just don't have any space, and I don't want to summon for them and then not play with them, because I have some characters on my roster that I don't play, and some of them are females, and it's very unfortunate when you don't play with the characters, because they just sit in the back seat, and sometimes you forget that you have them. So it's very, very sad. But those are my 5 characters. Give me your list, down in the comment section. 5 characters that you would avoid all times, and let's compare. And also, thank you so much for stopping by. and watching this. I am very appreciative, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.